All right, let's talk about sex. We're going to dive into the science of sexual well-being, and trust me, what we're about to uncover might just flip everything you thought you knew about desire on its head. So let's get into it. Just listen to this quote from sex educator Dr. Emily Nagoski. Wow, right? It basically says that a lot of the confusion and, the anxiety we feel around sex, it's not our fault. It's because we've been fed a bunch of myths our whole lives. And there's one myth that's probably the biggest, the most damaging of them all. It's this idea that if you're in a happy long-term relationship, you have to feel a certain way, like all the time. Yep, this one. The whole idea that you have to keep the spark alive. It's this constant pressure, right, to feel this fiery, spontaneous passion for your partner 24/7. But what if I told you the experts are now saying, you know what, screw the spark? Yeah, you heard me. Forget the spark. If we really want to understand how our sexuality actually works, the first step is to just toss that whole idea of some magical, constant spark out the window. Instead, we need to get the desire isn't just one thing. It actually comes in two totally different flavors. Okay, so look at this. This is so important. On one side, you've got spontaneous desire. This is the lightning bolt stuff we always see in movies, right? It shows up before anything even happens in anticipation of pleasure. But then there's the other kind, responsive desire. And this is just as normal, just as healthy. It builds slowly. It doesn't show up out of the blue. It emerges in response to pleasure. It's not about, I want sex right now. It's more like, let's see if we can find a pathway to pleasure here. So here's the big takeaway, and I really want you to hear this. If you don't feel that lightning bolt all the time, you are not broken. Seriously. For so many people, just learning that responsive desire is a real thing, that it even exists, is enough to solve what they thought was this huge sexual problem. It's a total game changer. Okay, so that brings us to the actual science behind all this, the core model for how arousal works. And it shows us that, really, sex is way more about what's happening in your brain than, anywhere else. For the longest time, the science was just missing huge pieces of the puzzle. Back in the 60s, you had Masters and Johnson, who famously mapped out the physical stages: arousal, plateau, orgasm. But where was desire? They completely left it out. Then in the 70s, Helen Singer Kaplan came along and added desire to the model. Huge step forward. But it wasn't until the 2000s that we got the dual control model, which finally put the brain front and center, right where it belongs. In this model, it's actually super simple, which is what makes it so powerful. Just think of your brain's sexual response system like a car. It's got a gas pedal, an accelerator to get things moving, and it's got brakes to slow things down. And here's the key. They are two separate, independent systems. So let's look at the accelerator first. This is what scientists call the sexual excitation system, and its only job is to constantly scan everything around you and inside you for anything and everything that's even remotely related to sex. So what hits the gas pedal? Well, literally anything your brain has decided is sexy. It could be the way your partner looks or smells, a scene in a movie, a fantasy, a specific kind of touch. It is completely 100% unique to you. When your brain spots one of those things, boom, it sends the turn-on signal. But, and this is a huge but, at the exact same time, there's that second system working away, the brakes, the sexual inhibitory system. And its job is to scan for all the perfectly good reasons not to get turned on right now. And this right here, this is the part that changes everything for most people. Most sexual problems are not caused by a weak accelerator or not enough turn-ons. Nope. They're caused by way too much stuff hitting the brakes. We're talking stress about work, money, the kids, feeling bad about your body, relationship arguments, or even just being afraid someone's gonna walk in the room. All that stuff, it just slams on the brakes. So you see, getting turned on isn't just about hitting the gas pedal. It's this dual process of hitting the gas and taking your foot off the brake. The real secret to a happy sex life isn't about finding more turn-ons. It's about creating a world, a context, where it's safe to release the brakes. Okay, think about this for a second. Have you ever wondered why the exact same touch from the exact same person can feel absolutely amazing one minute and then super annoying the next? The answer is the perfect illustration of how powerful context really is. So Dr. Nagoski has this brilliant analogy: tickling. Imagine you're with your partner, you're in a great mood, you're feeling fun, flirty, connected, safe. They give you a little tickle. In that context, Your brain goes, oh, this is fun, this is playful, this is connecting, maybe it even feels a little arousing. Okay, now, same scenario, different context. You're in the middle of a huge fight. You're angry, you're stressed, your partner does the exact same tickle. Same person, same sensation, but now, because the emotional context is totally different, your brakes are on high alert, your brain reads that same signal as annoying, invasive. You probably want to punch them, right? And that's it, right there. That's the real work of a long-term relationship. The couples who keep a great sexual connection going for years, they don't have some magic secret that keeps them in the mood all the time. What they are is masters of creating a context together that makes it okay for both of their brains to let go of the brakes and just be open to pleasure. Which brings us to the last big idea, and honestly, this might be the most important one. If desire isn't some magic spark and arousal is all about context, then what are we even aiming for? What's the goal? It's not about how often you do it, or performance, or even orgasm. It's way, way simpler than that. This right here. Pleasure is the measure. That's it. That's the whole ballgame. Not how often you have sex, not with whom, not what positions you use. The only question that truly matters is this. Are you enjoying the sex you're having? Is everyone involved enjoying it? When you put pleasure at the very center of everything, all the other stuff like desire and orgasm, it all tends to just fall into place. Now, obviously, to figure all this out, you have to talk about it with your partner. And for a lot of people, that's way harder than the sex itself. So here's how you do it. First, you have to start with being kind and compassionate with yourself. Then when you bring it up, don't frame it like there's a problem to solve. Frame it positively, like, hey, I'd love to explore how we can deepen our erotic connection. You can share what works for you, and then, and this is key, ask what works for them without any judgment. The goal isn't to chase some constant spark. It's to build these smoldering embers that are just ready to be stoked when the context is right. You know, the most freeing thing about learning all this science is the realization that you are not broken. You are already normal. Your brain, your body, they're working exactly the way they're supposed to. You don't need to be fixed. You just need to learn your own unique settings, your own accelerator and brakes, and then work to create a life, a context that lets your brain be ready for pleasure. So I want to leave you with this one last thought. We spend so much time and energy looking for a spark, and we freak out when we think it's gone. But what if that was never the point? What if the real secret to a lifetime of good sex isn't about finding something that's already there, but about learning how to build a fire together?